So today's video is actually the reason why I decided to do a whole week of swirls and stuff anyway, because I used this soap as an FAQ last week and people were commenting on the actual pour and how awesome it was. And I actually agree. And I did not give it, enough, time. I did not give it the credit that it deserves. And so that's what I'm going to do today. That is not reusing content because it's the same footage, yes, but I am doing a second edit. It's not the same. It's also the first time I've ever done it, so I am self-reporting because I feel kind of weird about it. But I will tell you about the soap itself in just a minute. But before I do, hello, I am Mrs. Soap and Clay. Let's make stuff. How's it going, Sudsers? Welcome back to the channel. You are at Soap and Clay, where we make all the soapy things, and you are here for week 32 of year 3, and we are doing Clover Soapworks beautiful, rainbow splash swirl technique design today, using the soap that I showed you last week, but actually talking about it and how I did the thing and why I put the stuff in the way that I did and how many times I did the pulley up and down thing with the hanger, because we didn't do that last week. We talked over it and we did an FAQ over it instead. And like I said, this soap really does deserve some props because it's really pretty. I'm pretty obsessed. So let's get to the video. We're working with 7 total colors today, and we'll do all the soapy things, where we always do, over there. Okay, 6-color swirl, because, rainbow swirls, the rainbow splash swirl that Clover Soapworks did was amazing. And when we did the Project Soapway, I specifically said you could not do rainbow, but you still had to do 6 accent colors. So I didn't get to do this. Now, this is actually a soap that has been in my line forever as a custom, well, it's like a loaf order that you can do. So you can order all, like a whole loaf, like 12 bars for a super awesome price. And I've been making it forever, and really usually what I do is I sort of put the color in the middle and I just go up and down with the hanger a couple times just to make sure there's a swirl on the top part of the white and the bottom part of the white. It's scented with black raspberry and vanilla, which is delightful. But after watching Clover's splash swirl for his cherry bomb, I became obsessed with the splash swirl and just how much you have to manipulate the batter with the hanger. And so I decided when this custom order came in to go ahead and make this particular one using that technique. So essentially using the hanger a whole bunch more times than I ultimately would in order to do this and see, if I like the result better than the one that I currently have, and also see if I can make mine even as close to as beautiful as Clover's. And I don't know if that's going to happen because you've already seen the thumbnail. But anyway, for these colors here, we are working with Voodoo from Mad Micas, Koi from Mad Micas, Lala also from Mad Micas, the Maniacal P, Twilight, and Harold's Purple Crayon. All those also, you guessed it, from Mad Micas. And so we are going to mixy mix. We have put the fragrance into everything. We have hit emulsion. Actually, we are at a very thin trace with this, and I'm going to tell you why in a minute, but we're going to mix all of this in and start layering the soap in my, mold and see what we are working with for these beautiful splash swirls. Now onto the pour, and usually what I do is I put about half of the main base color into the mold all at once, and then I start layering my colors. Normally when I would do this pour, I would try to layer them as close as possible to actually do strips inside of this mold. It can get a little bit tricky though when you are working with just a single, loaf mold instead of a slab or, the like. And so with this one, it got really tricky because what I have found works best for me is to have a thinner fluidity, like a better fluidity of the accent colors. So a thinner soap batter than the base color. I think it works to really pull those swirls in really beautifully. And so that's what I am working with here. Unfortunately, I think I got it a little bit too thin and stuff started getting really messy. But as you can see, the bottom layer was holding it up without any problems at all. So I'm in love with that. And so now I'm sort of just, instead of trying to get the colors all right next to each other, like following the rainbow pattern, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, right? I'm just kind of winging it because we're going to be manipulating the soap batter so much that the thought is none of these colors are really going to stay where I put them anyway. So I'm going to get all 6 of the colors in and then work with the hanger to get them all beautifully swirled like Clover's, like the splash swirl, which again is something that I am completely and totally obsessed with. It is such a gorgeous pour just across the board. It's so fun. It's so bright. It's so amazing. And I was excited to actually try my hand at a proper splash swirl using the colors that got me hooked on the splash swirl in the first place. So that's what we are working with here. I really love how gorgeous the soap batter looks inside of the mold at this point as I'm doing a wall pour. Each of the colors, as I'm pouring, the next color, it's pushing the others into the middle. So if you really wanted to do this kind of thoughtfully, you know what I mean? You could start with the middle colors. You could pour the yellow and the orange, red, orange, yellow, the yellow and the green rather first, and then kind of go out from the rainbow on either side to get that, they're all lined up in the appropriate rainbow form in your mold. But I didn't do that, and I think it's going to be gorgeous, and all of the colors are going to be represented anyway. Now, as you can see, I did mention that I wanted my base color to be thicker than the swirled colors, and so it is continuing to move around as I am not being particularly careful at all, and I at some point am just going to start dumping it all in because I have no patience. Yep, this is that point is right now, and it is moving around the colors underneath. So if you wanted to be more careful, you could, and it really wouldn't move them around, but I really don't think it cares. Well, not that it cares, it doesn't. I don't care, and it doesn't matter. But with this particular pour, because you're manipulating this batter so much with the hanger, I don't think it's that big of a deal if you don't get really crisp, clean lines. And so that is what I'm working with here because I really do like the thicker soap batter that goes over the top of the accent colors and the bottom, because it really is giving essentially the colors themselves something to push into and a little bit of resistance, so you don't just have, if everything's too incredibly thin, which was the case for most of my splash swirls, they were all just a little bit too thin when I was pouring for the Project Soapway challenges. It's kind of like you're not really doing anything. You have just very delicate wispy streaks and swirls, and that's not what I was going for. I wanted the big full effect of the splash swirl. And so as you can see, I'm going up and down and just barely moving my hanger over as I continue down one length of the mold and then the other. And so again, you are really, really swirling the crap out of this. And I normally tell you, don't swirl the crap out of your soap batter because it's all going to end up muddy and eventually it's just going to look brown. But I was proven wrong with the splash swirl. And when I tell you that Clover's video lives in my head rent-free, it doesn't even live in my head rent-free. I watch that thing at least once a day. I love it so much. I love him so much. He's so delightful. And so I watch that and just enjoy the swirling part in his big slab mold the absolute most, for sure. And for the top, I am doing what I always do. I'm a messy soaper, so I'm just getting all of that beautiful, awesome color onto the top, just getting it all out of my containers, showing you every bit of it, because, we do that. We do use all of the soap batter. And also I thought it was kind of cool because it's the splash swirl, right? And so I'm sort of just splashing it on. It's artistic. It's like when you throw paint at the wall or you do those balloon poppy things and you create art, which is something that we're actually doing for a fall festival this year. So that's going to be a mess, but the kids are going to have fun and we're going to call it art. It's going to be a good time. But yeah, as you can see, it's a big old mess. But once you take your skewer to it, look at that. It's beautiful. It's like a painting or a water. It's like paint. Soap always looks like paint. I don't know why I'm just so tickled pink by this, but look, it's beautiful. This will be C-popped and gelled, and let's go on to the cut right now and see if I can manage some awesome rainbow splash swirls. the moment of truth, the cut. Now, this was in the mold for about 24 hours. I just took it out. It's beautiful. It's so nice and shiny. It definitely went through a gorgeous gel phase. We've got a couple little holes with all of that on the sides, but that's no big deal. That's nothing that your end bar can't fix, you know, when you're cleaning up your bars. And look at that. That is gorgeous. Oh my gosh, and that's more gorgeous. I don't quite love the red on the other side of that bar, but that's super cool. And you have all 6 colors represented there. They all exist. And that voodoo ended up weirdly turning much more red than I anticipated, and that never happens. So now I'm wondering if this is just a coloring thing on my camera, because it looks quite red. And normally it's pretty pink, and I just roll with it. But maybe it's just because it got mixed in with the orange so much when I was pouring. But look at that. That is stunning. That looks like flames. If I was still doing the Game of Soaps line of soaps, I would definitely be considering changing the Targaryen bar, which has always been a bear to make, which is a flame pattern, into this instead, because I could totally do some gorgeous stuff with, you know, a black base and then like 6 different colors of oranges and reds, you know, and all the different hues to represent the Targaryens, you know. I think that would be gorgeous. There are a lot of things that you can do with splash swirls. Essentially, you can manufacture a theme around a splash swirl, you know, for anything. Like just anything. That almost looks like a dragon with the blue part there, and maybe the yellow is the wings and the orange, whatever. And now I'm just thinking about Game of Thrones and how sad I am that it's not a thing anymore. But yes, those are so stunning. They're not even close to what Clover did, like not by a long shot, but I am incredibly happy with them. With this particular pour and how these bars ended up being, you could also call them like a geode soap, you know what I mean? And do proper kind of geode colors, whatever you wanted, like when you cut a rock open or whatever. I'm always unfamiliar, or, you know, not 100% sure if I'm getting words right when it comes to stuff I don't understand, and I don't understand rocks, but stunning. I think I could definitely manufacture a theme around that as well. It's beautiful all around the board. And with this, I don't know that I've ever seen people do this and really point it out, but because you are swirling it like this, a lot like you would do a butterfly swirl with your hangers or whatever, most every hanger pour does have a mate. And so that looks like a cat with that blue. It has a mate. And so if you put the 2 soaps together, you can get sort of a cool pattern. It's obviously not going to be as stunning as like a properly, we decided this and it's a lotus or a mantra or, you know, whatever, but it can be a really cool pattern regardless when you kind of put them together. See, got a little butterfly and there's a dragon. There's all kinds of fun stuff there. And there it is, an absolutely gorgeous batch of soap. Every single bar was absolutely stunning. I had so much fun making this. I am completely obsessed with the Splash Swirl. You guys saw that I did 4 different ones for the actual Project Soapway Challenge. Those were in my line and were a ton of fun for a minute, so I made a whole bunch more. And then also got to do this one because it was a custom order through the website, which you can do too over at soapandclay.com if you want to. You can get a whole loaf for deals, like crazy cheap prices. But anyway, I got to do this one, and I am obsessed with the Splash Swirl just across the board. How about you guys? Are you loving the Splash Swirl? I love how delicate the swirls are. All the fun, for sure. And so at the end of this week, we've shown a bunch of ways that we can make cool swirls with, you know, minimal effort, because that's kind of the name of my game. And I love every single one of them. So I hope that if you are into the swirling moment in your soaping journey, you got some inspiration from all of these. You're going to go make some beautiful swirls. I recommend the Splash, for sure. But I'm going to go. Soap and Clay Kidlet number 2 has a surgery in a few days, and so I need to scramble to make sure that everything is ready to go so I can be with her every step of the way for her full 2-week recovery. So, you know, got to get stuff in order and lined up, ready to go. I'll still be around and present, you know, but my kids are priority one. You get it. Sudsers get it, for sure. So thank you for understanding that. I am going to go, but I will see you guys all again in a few days for another week, another round of soapy fun. Bye.